Welcome to Ear Biscuits. I'm Link.
And I'm Rhett. This week at the Round Table of Dim Lighting, we're going to be exploring the question, do changing seasons affect your brain?
Let's get into some season change. I mean, we're gonna filter this through, of course, our so many years. I mean, we're so old. Some of us older than others. By
the time you're listening to
this,
as
of recently,
I'm 41.
Oh man, I'm not that old. But we both lived through many a season change, Rhett. And even out here in LA, things are different. I don't know how seasons work out here. I think maybe we can talk about that too.
That is actually what got me interested in talking about this.
What got me interested was that it finally got a little cooler here. So I'm like, is it a season?
Yes and no, I think is the answer to the question. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that, about what it was like in North Carolina, what it's like here. And also get into some of the science around what the seasons do to your brain, because they do some things to your brain. They're for real, they do.
You've got stacks of notes based on
I love notes.
Reams of readings that you've done.
I love stacks.
I just searched
notes.
I searched my own psyche for my experience with fall. Fall is upon us. Some of you listening are deep in the depths of fall. Some of you are in parts of the world where it's, I don't know, it could be spring. That could happen.
Well, that would be all the people in the Southern Hemisphere.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna leave you out because we're gonna talk about seasons changing in general.
We're actually gonna talk about the tilt of the earth, which is the reason for the season. You wanna be technical about it. The reason for the season
okay, Rhett,
is the tilt of the earth.
Calm down, buddy.
It's fascinating.
Calm down, you getting tilted.
But before we do that, I wanna talk to you about something that happened yesterday while we were on a short trip. We had a meeting.
You can tell him what the meeting is. Just give him a little window into our professional lives, man.
All right.
Don't be shy. I don't like that thing where it's like, we're working on a secret project. First of all, it's not a secret it is.
Well, hold on. You know what? This is why you can't go solo. just so you know, because you would totally crash and burn. You would say something. You would say something. It would be no. I wouldn't be here to keep you from saying it.
Well,
and maybe it would be provocative. Maybe it would be like a Howard Stern thing, and then you'd take off and have this incredible career. Whereas you'll never know what he's gonna say next.
What we're doing professionally is not provocative. I mean, it's just.
But it is secret. What I'm saying is that we can say that we went to a meeting at a place that makes decisions about what they want on their particular channel. We went to a TV meeting, yes. This is not the first or the last time that we've done it. And on the way to the meeting.
TV network meetings, man, they're fun.
And on the way to the meeting.
Hey, get to know us, look at us. Maybe we can work together on something.
We pull up, well, now you're making it sound like a general meeting. No, it was a pitch meeting.
Well, don't tell him that.
Well, hold on, but now you're just making stuff up.
It's a pitch meeting.
It wasn't a general, it was a pitch meeting. We had a specific idea that we're trying to get people excited about.
That's all I was gonna say.
Okay, well you just said maybe we'll work together. That's not what happened. It was, hey, do you like this idea?
I was trying to back off of it after you made me nervous that for some reason I can't
So you started lying?
That we have a show idea and we're having meetings.
There's an art to withholding pieces of the truth without being dishonest.
We have a show
You almost
idea.
Went too far and then you started lying.
If you have a network that's right, we have a show idea that might be right for you.
Okay, there you go. That's innocuous enough.
And this is here's the pitch. Now, see, that's what I'm not gonna tell him.
So on the way to this meeting, we pull up to a stoplight. It's Link and I and Stevie, all three of us together in my car. And we pull up at a stoplight and I see a guy get out of his car next to us at a stoplight and go to the back of his hatchback and open up the back.
Yeah, the light was red.
Immediately, Link gets out of the car and goes to the man and he was right next to us. And the first thing that I thought was, this man is having a problem that Link can see. Like Link is the one on that side of the car. He can see that this man needs help, and without even saying, hold on, I'm gonna help this guy.
I sprung into action.
You're sprung into action, you got out and you're helping.
I was gonna save the day.
But then I see you going directly towards the man's door, that he's in the back of his car, and Link is going towards the open driver's door.
He left his driver door open.
And then looks like he's about to get in the car. I'm like, oh no, Link's doing a Link joke. He's gonna get shot. Like that's what I started thinking.
Yeah, I walked towards the open driver door and then I was like, what am I going for here?
This is the streets of LA.
I realized
you don't just see a man get out of his car and then go get in his car.
I thought it would, I don't know. I can't tell you what I was thinking except
I know exactly what you were thinking because you told me after.
I thought it would be funny.
Well, here's what happened. So I hear our doors open so I can hear what's happening and Link's like, I was gonna get in your car. That's what he tells the guy. And then the guy looks at Link and he's like, such an LA response. He's like, funny guy.
I didn't say I was gonna get in your car, did I?
No, you said, I was gonna get in your car, but I decided not to, or something like that.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And he was like, funny guy. Like he wasn't worried, he wasn't scared, he wasn't panicking.
Well, he looked at me.
He knew exactly what you were trying to do.
And be worried or scared.
And then you got back in the car and I said.
And he got back in his car.
I said, couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly what I was thinking. Funny guy. But then you said you did it to get your mojo up for the meeting.
Oh yes, that was right. Yeah,
Explain that to me.
Well, you know, as I've, without any misgivings, have shared freely with you that we had a pitch meeting at a television network. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was the first of its kind for us in many years. And I just wanted to get my mojo up. I just wanted to have like a shot of adrenaline. I just wanted to feel like.
You wanted to feel alive.
I wanted to feel alive. I wanted to feel like.
You wanted to put a ripple in the universe.
I wanted to rip the universe open and to pass through it.
And so by potentially getting in someone else's car, you thought that was a way to get into a different part of the universe?
I was never gonna sit down in his car. Well, I can't say that. I did, but I can't say what I was gonna do because I didn't plan what I was gonna do. He got out of his car, he went around to the trunk. I was like, wow. And before I knew it, I was getting out of the car.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Just be instinctive. Just go with it. Right. Engage your instincts for a moment and see what happens. And I found myself standing in the middle of, a couple of lanes of traffic.
Did you size him up? Was what he looked like, did it have any impact on your
he seemed
willingness to get out of the car and act like you're getting?
He seemed like a nice guy that I'd like to have a traffic-centric engagement with.
Because he was an older guy, he's probably in his 50s, and he was shorter than you.
Well, I didn't profile him, if that's what you're asking.
Well, I'm asking the question because I can't believe how many things you've done in your life and still have not gotten punched by a stranger. I mean, it's gonna happen at some point. I keep waiting for the day for it to happen.
I'm not proud
I need to be rolling.
I'm not proud of what I did because I do feel like it was stupid. And I did have this overwhelming sense of.
What if he had died?
When I got back in the car.
How would I have explained that? I would have made up a story. Just for your own legacy, right, I would have made up a story. Right. I would have said,
Stevie would have had to.
This guy looked like he needed help. Link got out of the car and then the guy killed him.
So you would have sent the guy away to prison?
Yeah.
Just for my legacy?
No, I would have said that it would have been obvious that he killed you. He would be guilty of killing you either way.
True. That's true.
And he may later confess in prison and be like, he just got out of the car. I think he was trying to be funny. He's a funny guy.
And no one would
believe no, he
that.
was trying to help you. And I had to get Stevie to go in on it with me.
Man, and that's why I'm sorry that I would have put you in that position.
Because think about the alternative. I'm at your funeral and I'm like, well, I know a lot of you have questions about what happened to Link and I'm just gonna tell you the story. We were at a stoplight, a guy got out of his car and then Link tried to get into his front seat. I think he thought it would be funny.
Incidentally, this is the pitch. This is the show that we then went in. I was like, all right, a guy stops at a stoplight.
It's a reality show. It's a prank show where
you
wait for people to get out of their cars and then you get into their cars.
I want to grab life by the ball sack, man. And I just want to see where it swings.
Yeah, but he didn't have one of those hanging from the back of his truck. It was just a hatchback.
Grab life by the ball sack, see where it swings. And sometimes you get hung out to dry. And that's what happened. You know what? And I regret it.
Yeah, but the thing is
I got back in the car and I was like, I'm 40 years old. What am I doing?
To take your analogy all the way, going around grabbing things by the ball sack is a great way to get punched. That's all I gotta say. Like you go up to just a bull and grab it by the ball sack, you're gonna get bucked, man. That's what happens.
Bucked, I'm not riding it.
No, you're gonna get kicked.
Kicked.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta be careful about grabbing the universe's ball sack.
I just wanted to get pumped up, man. I mean, some people, they do some calisthenics backstage before they burst out through that curtain of life. I honestly, it was so impulsive. I thought that being impulsive would be something good for the meeting.
But you didn't carry that into the meeting.
Yeah,
you didn't do anything spontaneous.
Yeah, because you were like, what if you died? I mean, you buzz killed it, man. You could have at least waited until after the meeting. You could have been like, yeah, Link, you're doing it, man.
Yeah, but if you had done something equivalent to that during the meeting, it may have compromised the pitch.
What I really wanted to know is there something I could have said or done when standing out there to redeem it? Because that was the point where I was just like floating in the ether of a commitment to nothing. I was like a standing question mark at the stoplight.
You could have said, do you need some help? And then he would have been like, no, thanks.
Yeah, I felt like something funny could have happened, but that also wasn't. What's the funniest thing that could have happened?
I think what happened. I think you achieved it, man.
Okay, well there you go.
I think that was as funny as that could be. Some guy to be like, funny guy.
Did talking about it here redeem it?
Yeah, it made it totally worth it. I'm glad you did it. It gave us an opening for this episode of Ear Biscuits.
I woke up this morning and I took Jade out. Hello, Jade. Look, here she is. Look, a little visual aid here, if you're watching the video.
She doesn't seem comfortable with that.
I'm holding Jade up. Jade will sit in my lap forever, man. She's the perfect thing for my lap.
Perfect thing for my lap.
I love her to death. I think about her dying all the time because I love her so much and I know that I will outlive her.
She will die. She will die before you, unless you die prematurely.
Which could happen,
but
I plan to outlive her. So I try to prepare my heart for when she's gone and appreciate every moment I have with her. Like right now.
Why don't you just get her cloned, man?
I took her out I will. That's a good idea.
It's getting cheaper and cheaper by the day. I mean, seriously, you can get the same exact dog.
Dogclone.com/ear.
The soul actually transfers to the clone. That's the cool thing about it.
That is cool.
Yeah, the soul of the dog will actually be transmuted.
That was gonna be my first question, so I'm glad you preemptively answered it. I was taking her out to use the bathroom and I was like, man, woo, it's a little bit, a little bit nipply out here.
Yep.
It's like what? 66 degrees. 60.
Whoa,
It was
I might need a sweater.
It was like 60 degrees when I took her out this morning to pee-pee. I'm like, man, fall has finally descended upon me.
Right.
And I got emotional shivers down my spine. I just started to get excited, man. I mean, we talked in an Ear Biscuit weeks and weeks ago about, back to school as a feeling. And I felt a lot of those same things and like knowing that I know many of you you're in the depth of fall already.
The depth of your fall.
Or you're on the opposite side of the hemisphere and you're waiting for it. But I got this excitement bug, man. Woo, I got bit by it. I'm like, yes. I started immediately thinking about my sweaters and my jackets. I love a good jacket.
Yeah, you also wear sweaters and jackets like the entire summer, though.
But now I don't look crazy.
Yeah, right. The other night we were going somewhere with our wives. We were going to a concert and First Aid Kit concert.
Check them out, y'all, First Aid Kit.
Love that band. Sisters from Stockholm, Sweden. And
sounded great in
got
person
their start
too.
on YouTube, Anyway, they're great. But we're going to a concert and I had looked at the weather and the weather said that it would be like 68 degrees as a minimum while we're at the concert. And so I was like, that's light jacket weather. Just to give you an idea of what happens to your body when you move to Los Angeles is 68 degrees. You're like, I don't know about 68, y'all. I might need a light jacket. But keep in mind, light jacket. Link.
I'm at my house having the same conversation with Christy about
Christy tells us at the concert that Link Link is ready to walk out the door and he's got his like down, he's got his down jacket on. That the one like the collapsible, like North Face style.
Yeah, the one I
quilted
got,
down
the one I got
jacket
in Melbourne, Australia.
That typically
it was
you wear while
there. It was
like
winter down there.
Skiing. If you don't see like active ice in your vision, your field of vision, you're not really supposed to have one of those on. But it was gonna be 68. So
well, hold on. I was not wearing it.
And why not? Because I
was walking out the door and Christy busted out laughing at me.
You have people in your life that keep you from doing dumb stuff. It's good. You should be thankful.
Child locks. That's what you need to put on your car.
Child locks on the passenger seat. I don't think that exists, man. It's only the back seat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll start riding back there.
Okay, good.
I'll own it.
Exactly.
Chauffeur me around
put you in the back
to my
seat.
pitch meetings.
Seatbelt locks him in.
She started busting it out laughing. I'm like, what? I was like, we just looked up the weather. It's gonna be like, it's there. I didn't start with a 7. It started with a 6.
Right. And like I said, I mean, I did have a light jacket on, which I already think that to the majority of the people listening, to hear that it's gonna be 68 degrees and say that you need a jacket is already crazy town, because 68 is like a setting that some people have their home on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
My mom probably has it on 68 during the summer in the house. She's not wearing a jacket.
Well, after Christy busted out laughing, I was like, okay, I guess you're right. And then I took it off. And I didn't bring a jacket at all.
Yeah, but then you bought a sweatshirt at the concert.
And I put it on immediately.
Yeah, and my wife,
like a super fan.
My wife bought the same sweatshirt. Now you guys can't be together anymore because you might end up wear first aid kit sweatshirts, which would be weird because people think it's like, means you're like a med person.
Like we're the two medics. Me and Jesse are the two medics.
Oh, that guy's got a first aid kit in his sweater.
So does she.
Oh, they're a team.
They're together.
Where's the ambulance?
They hold both ends of the cot. What's the cot called?
The stretcher.
The stretcher.
But they sleep on cots.
They sleep on cots.
It's a mobile thing.
Why don't they just sleep on the stretcher?
But I think the point is that when you're in Los Angeles, you have, now we're gonna talk about whether or not there are seasons or not and what constitutes a season. But we have much less pronounced seasons than we did in North Carolina.
What do you remember from back when we like experienced like, oh, the colors of leaves changing, and
to me,
what stands out for you?
To me, the most.
It's your favorite season, right?
Yeah, the fall is my favorite season, which is interesting based on what the research says about how the fall and the winter make you feel for most people, which we'll get into. But it's always, I've always gotten this very like nostalgic sort of almost excitement when I feel the weather getting colder again. Now, I also feel like I get that again as it gets warmer. I feel like the transition is what I'm excited about because I like change.
New. You like newness.
But there was always something about it getting cold at a time when it was like, oh, it's my birthday, and then it's Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I'm in school. And again, I liked school. I didn't like the schooling part, but I liked the whole idea of school and friends and everything, even if I wasn't even willing to admit it to myself. But for me, the sort of the definitive sign was that first frost, which is something that we do not get out here. So all of a sudden, one morning you'd be up, you'd be going outside to get in the car to go to school, and then my parents' entire lawn, and of course the neighbor's lawn, and then the grass across the street would all be covered in ice, a layer of like frost. Yeah. That would be gone as soon as the sun hits it. It like melts within minutes. But it kind of like crunches a little bit as you walk to the car on that centipede grass that was in my front yard. And there were those very specific physical signs. I mean, the changing of the leaves is one thing. You know, I'm excited about, we will have already been there when you're listening to this, but we haven't yet left for North Carolina to do the concert, but I am excited about hopefully seeing some leaves changing colors.
I think I might pick up a handful of leaves and just like crunch them up and deeply breathe.
Don't bring them back to California though. That's like a violation of some sort of interstate thing.
That sounds like a customs thing. Doesn't happen state to state.
Yeah. Nope. California customs, man. They don't like you to bring in vegetation.
I might eat.
They'll stop you at the border if you have a cactus.
I might eat a leaf, just to feel the crunch in my mouth.
Better be careful. Some are poisonous.
I'll spit it out. You'll
just chew it like tobacco.
I mean, leaf piles, man. Of course, I was avid in the lawn care in my high school days.
Yeah.
And man, when those there would be the 3-week period, I think, where the leaves would just dump. And my papa got this thing behind his lawnmower, which is the lawnmower I used, and it was a trailer with a big leaf catcher on it, and it had a big rotating thing that like brushed all the leaves up inside of it. And I could make huge piles of leaves on the side of the road for like the town to come pick up. And you just run. I mean, as a youngster, I'd run and jump in those things, man. There'd always be dog shit in there. I distinctly remember that. I would jump in a leaf pile.
But when did it get in there? Before or after the pile was formed?
I don't know. A little bit of both, I think.
I've been in a lot of leaf piles. I've never seen any.
Really? Oh, I without fail, I'd find it.
I think it was the neighborhood you were in.
Nana Papa's neighbor, Kelly had a dog named Pepper, and Pepper would pepper the leaf piles, if you know what I mean.
So he would go into the leaf pile after.
I actually had a fear of jumping into leaf piles after a lot of that, and I'm just realizing that now.
That's interesting, man. I've never heard anybody talk about that specific concern.
It might have been one of those things that just happened once,
time,
now I can't jump in a leaf pile without thinking about sinking into some steamy hot pepper log.
Yeah, it's like it's permeated all of your leaf memories.
But I still love it.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of that.
I'll tell you something else. Remember the exhilaration of going to the high school football games?
Oh yeah.
And it was getting cold, and you'd sit on those bleachers, and it was like, okay, that was the moment, man. You're like, you're walking through, and you see, who everybody's there, and like, you like this girl, but you don't want to talk to her, so you're talking to your friends about her, and it's all the drama. And no one watches a football game because our football team was absolutely horrible. I mean, I never once made sense of anything that was happening on the football field.
We actually got a little bit better while we were there, and then they got good after we left.
That's right.
But they
got really good after we
our
left.
high school football team was in Sports Illustrated for the longest losing streak of any high school team in like the, I think the 80s. The 80s and maybe the early 90s. I mean, we were absolutely awful. But yeah, and again, I think for me, it has to do with my association with school and sort of like the social, I was really into just, what is it gonna be this year? Like,
right.
What are me and my friends gonna do?
But it's different than the back to school hope, because by that point
you were already in it.
You were in it, and it was you were in drama mode. It was like, oh, what's going on? Like who's mad at who, and this, that, and the other.
So I've been talking with Locke about, him being back in school and being in high school, and we were talking about it last night, and I was like, just asking him about different aspects of the day. And I remember asking him about 8th grade and like the way that the kids ate lunch. He would talk to me about, well, at lunch the day I did this, and then we played a little basketball, and I was like, none of this is really computing with, based on the understanding that I have of how lunch went.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the lunch eating in California schools, or at least in Southern California schools, is done outside, okay? So, like the food is served out of windows that are outside. They're up under like some awnings, so there's some shelter just in case there's like the 1 in 100 chance it might be raining.
Mm-hmm.
But then the seats are outside.
Yeah.
And a lot of lockers are outside. And then the classrooms you enter in from the outside in a lot of classrooms. And then even if you don't, the buildings are separate. And so you have to go outside. And I was telling Locke, I was like, the funny thing is like, he's like, you guys ate inside? I was like, of course. In fact, in North Carolina at Harnett Central High School, we would go into school at 8 o'clock and I would not go outside again until 3 o'clock. Why did I need to go outside? There was no reason to go outside.
No.
And it blew his mind that I was inside all day. And I was like, well, the reason we were inside all the day is because it's either really, really hot, it's either really cold, there's bugs. All these things don't really happen here. It does get really, really hot here.
But that's why fall was such a special time.
Yeah, and that's what got me thinking about
it. Was that transition period where it's like, oh, the mosquitoes are gone. You might want to do a little camping.
Right.
You know, go out to Jordan Lake, do a little camping.
And it just made me think, what has it done to us? We've been out here 8 years now. What has it done to us psychologically being in a place that doesn't really have seasons?
Because we certainly pine for it.
Yeah.
And are we being damaged by it?
Okay, well, what I found is pretty interesting.
Hit me with it.
This is what typically happens in the fall-winter shift. The change of the seasons into fall and into winter. Most people experience, or there's a mood shift that takes place.
Mood shift, we're talking emotions here?
Yeah, and so HuffPo interviewed Catherine Rocklin, I may not be saying her last name right, from the University of Pittsburgh.
Who cares, you did your best.
That's right, and mood shift
well, she might care.
During the fall and winter often includes less energy, feeling less social, losing interest in favorite activities, craving carbs, and changes in sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, I know that they probably have done more thorough research on this, but I don't know necessarily the adaptive reasons for why these things happen. But the reason that it happens is the changes in the amount of light, the amount of sunlight that you are experiencing, the length of the day. Your body is responding to the length of the day. So that got me thinking, so it's not just the temperature change, it's about the length of the day. Now, Los Angeles and Fuquay-Varina are within 1.5 degrees in latitude. So they're very close, we're pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
So from a length of day shift,
right,
we're actually experiencing about the same length of day that we did when we were in North Carolina. So we may not be feeling and seeing all these indications of seasons changing, but in reality, the days are getting shorter, and so we are susceptible to these same things that can kind of send you into these places in terms of your mood. And there was another study, one study that was done that kind of zeroed in on serotonin, showed that people produce less serotonin, which is one of the hormones that regulates mood and contributes to your feelings of well-being and happiness in the winter months. So the shorter days can actually bring that down. So there's, hormonal things that are happening in your body that can literally make you feel worse, make you feel, it's called seasonal depression. It's something that happens to a lot of people.
And that's, I would think that'd be more associated with winter than with fall.
Well,
I mean, once you've made it through the transition.
Well, it's all constantly changing. I mean, fall is just a little bit less light than winter, and winter is the peak of less light. So, and then as you start coming out of that, it all starts reversing in the spring.
Can't trick or treat until it gets dark, though. So, count your blessings.
It's all for that. But so I thought that LA doesn't have seasons. I mean, yeah, of course, it, like you said, you went out this morning and it felt a little cooler, and it does, and it has been really, really hot. So it does, there is a fluctuation in temperature, but there's not all those indications. Well, Adrian Cudler wrote for Curbed, said that LA actually has 5 seasons.
What? LA has an extra season?
Yeah, and they are the winter rainy season.
Okay.
So pretty much the only time that it rains in Los Angeles is during the winter. Like, I honestly cannot remember the last time it rained.
It sprinkled this morning for a second.
Okay.
I saw it happen.
But up until then.
It did not, but I wouldn't even call that rain.
But up until then, it's been since before summer started that I have seen
I don't remember
drop of rain in
actual
Los Angeles.
Rain. Yeah.
So there's the winter rainy season.
Specifically.
There's the spring. There is a spring, and that's sort of what people who aren't from Los Angeles think of when they think of Los Angeles, which is like 72 and sunny. That's spring. That's classic LA weather. But then there's that weird thing, the gloomy early summer, like the June gloom,
Yeah.
which we experienced. I remember the first year I experienced that and I was like, it never rains, but it's always cloudy. Is that smog? And no, it's like the marine layer, and there's some weird thing that happens with the weather systems where there's just cloud cover that is.
I thought the smog was trapped because of the heat, and that's what June gloom was. I didn't know it was marine layer.
Well, it's a combination of both. But you're not, I mean, smog doesn't get to a place where it blocks out the sun.
Right.
It's not, we're not in Beijing. I mean, this is.
They have 5 seasons in China too, by the way. They have summer and then they have late summer.
Oh. Is this like knowledge that you have from Lily being there? Or are you just making a joke now?
No, I read it. I read stuff too. I just don't print it out and make a stack like you do.
And then there is, again.
I don't have anything to prove.
This is one of those things that that was a shock. The miserably hot late summer. This is what we're just coming out of. So I remember the first year we were here, I was like, why is it so hot in September? I remember it was 100
that's the fourth season.
I'm not to the fifth one yet. It was 117 degrees in Burbank.
Yeah.
The first year that we were here. And I was like, what have we done?
Yeah.
And it was in September.
Yeah, you forget it's a freaking desert, man.
And that has happened many, many times. LA has gotten very, very hot, especially when you're in the valley, you're on this side of the hills that block you from the ocean breeze. But then the 5th season, which is actually the longest, technically from October to April.
Let me guess what it's called.
You've already looked at my notes.
No, I haven't. Fall.
No.
You haven't said fall.
It's the Santa Ana season. And
so there is no fall? There is no fall, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically the Santa Ana season.
So we have 5 seasons and fall isn't even one of them.
Right.
We could have 6 seasons if we just wedge fall in there. Santa Ana.
Yeah, so Santa Ana, this is something so I lived in California when I was 4, 5, and 6 over in Thousand Oaks, which is west of LA. And I remember my mom talking about the Santa Ana winds. Oh, the Santa Ana winds are coming again. And it was like this iconic thing. And it actually is this, if you just do a little Googling around Santa Ana winds, there are all these pop culture references to it. It's been in songs, it's been in movies. There's a lot of folklore kind of around it. It's, over 100 years, people have been sort of observing these things, calling it that.
Leprechauns?
There's no leprechauns. There's all this, people believe things about the Santa Ana winds and what they bring.
But let's say what they are before we say what.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you again, this is, Adrian wrote this in this Curbed article, and this is exactly how he described it. And this is technically what is happening.
Okay.
And from a practical standpoint, in the next couple of weeks, we will be at home in the middle of the night and there will be a howling wind that makes you think that your roof is going to come off in the middle of the night, and crap gets blown all over the place. Things get ruined.
Well, if I've got an umbrella, like a patio umbrella that
I've lost 2 of those.
And you put it down in one of those square weighted things that's really heavy, and then you screw it in at the base. And I remember this, it's like the winds are picking up, the weather, the only reason you start to watch the weather is when they say it's really gonna kick in.
Right.
And then I'll go outside and I'll secure like patio furniture pillows and I put the umbrella down. Well, that's not good enough.
No.
The winds are so strong that the umbrella that was down was still blown over and kind of picked up. The wind didn't go underneath it and like Mary Poppins it. It just pushed it over on the side, but still had so much force that it picked up the entire
concrete base.
The entire concrete base.
It's dangerous.
Took it over top of a chair and the outdoor coffee table we had, and then burst a palm tree in a huge ceramic thing that we have, and just obliterated it.
I've lost 2 of those.
I have a hard time picking this thing up. And look at these guns.
Yeah, it's incredible. So this is the technical description. Pleasant summer winds form over the Pacific Ocean.
Okay.
But Santa Ana start in the Great Basin beyond the Sierra Nevadas in the winter. So this is northeast of Los Angeles, a long ways away up in the Sierra Nevadas. They form up there in the winter when the air is cold and the jet stream leaves behind high pressure systems which spin clockwise, cold and dense, until the heavy air starts to slide down the mountains towards the coast. Lower pressure at the coast helps suck that cold air through the mountains towards Southern California. So you got this dual action thing happen with high pressure and low pressure. And as it cascades down towards the Los Angeles basin, the air heats up, dries out, and it speeds up as it snakes its way through narrow passes and canyons, barreling out finally in the flats, blowing 110 miles per hour, and sometimes on 110 degrees. Some days 110 degrees. So you've got wind that's hot and fast, and it is mind-blowing to experience. I remember as a kid, my brother and I—
It's like wolves howling.
—would put on our biggest jackets and like hold our jackets open and lean against the wind.
Squirrel suit it?
Yeah, and just full weight, just like leaning into the Santa Ana winds. And it's just like cultural, it defines Los Angeles in a lot of ways for an extended period of time.
It'll blow the water out of your pool, man.
Yeah, well, maybe a little bit.
I mean, the top of it. It'll blow the top off your pool.
So we do—
Topless pool.
So we do have seasons, but—
we have 5.
But they're not the same. But we are experiencing— so have you ever—
so
have you experienced
we've
this?
been talking about experiencing fall, and you just said we don't even have it.
Well,
But
no,
I'm gonna call it fall, and we have 6.
What we do have is we do have the shortening of the days. Now, let us know, #Ear Biscuits, is this something that you experience? Do you, tell us about your experience of like, do you feel a mood shift when the days get shorter? Is this something that you have experienced?
I definitely start to feel a little sadness when I'm driving home from work, and it's like, okay, I try to get home by 6:30, which means I get home at 7.
But at least you tried.
After a
That's what I tell my wife.
that
I get home,
works.
and she's like, why aren't you here? I was like, I tried to be. I tried to get here on time, and that never works.
No.
But my intentions were pure.
And when it's dark, it makes me more disappointed. It's like I get home at the same time I would get home in the summer, but it would be light then, and I would just feel like, well, I could take Jade for a walk, or
but you don't. But you could.
I won't,
I mean, but you could.
Not.
There's all kinds of things you could do.
Right.
You don't do anything different.
Right. I don't.
But there's an idea. There's a feeling that you could do things that were different.
There's a visibility.
Yeah. It's watching the sunset. I love watching the sunset from my house.
Yeah.
And then the sun starts setting while I'm still here working. Then I get home and it's just dark.
Yeah. When I leave the office and it's already dark.
It is a little depressing.
There's a sinking feeling.
Yeah.
And especially after Halloween, because I can't rationalize the trick-or-treating thing anymore. It's like until then I'm like, yeah, well, you can't trick-or-treat till it gets dark.
How do you think you would respond if you lived up in the Arctic Circle and once winter came, the sun was bye-bye for months? How do you think you would do in that situation?
Total darkness.
That
totality of the times.
There's no sun.
That's horrible. I could definitely see that would be depressing.
Okay, so interestingly.
And by the way, they also have the opposite where they'll have like full 24-hour light.
Yeah.
And that can also
could drive you a little nuts.
I think that drives you, like, makes you feel nutty, and then when it's dark, it just makes you feel sad. Well, that's my theory.
Okay, so yes, typically there are incredible, there are high concentrations of depression in places that experience these very, very long winters with no sun. But a woman named Carrie Leibowitz, a Stanford PhD student, spent a winter in Norway in a town called, I'm going to mispronounce this, Tromsø is what it looks like to me, but I'm sure it's—
Who cares?
Yeah.
You tried your best.
Tromsø with an O that has like a line through it at the end of it. Do you know how that says?
That's a Z. That's Canadian for zero.
Tromsø. I don't think that works. But she spent a year there studying people's mental health. Specifically like, okay, what is it like to live up here in this cold place that's dark for long periods of time? She wrote a very long, extensive article in The Atlantic. I'm gonna give you the basics here. So you would expect them to be depressed at a higher rate, right? But the people in this town do not seem to be affected by seasonal depression, even though the sun does not rise in their winter. And she found out that the secret, she theorizes based on being with them.
Tanning beds.
How did you know?
Is it?
No.
Oh, dang it, man.
No.
Seriously?
You thought it was gonna be tanning
I
beds?
thought it was gonna be some sort of like a light bulb simulated sun situation.
No.
Like everyone's got a tanning bed closet.
No, the secret is their mindset. I'm sorry that it's not tanning beds. So anyway, they have a word, kasalig, which means cozy. And they think about
I've heard of this.
winter in terms of kasalig, and I'm probably saying it wrong. The coziness that you can experience when it gets cold, when you need to be inside, when you need to be with other people, when you need to be next to a fire, when you need to put on these winter clothes, when you can ski and it's dark, but they're doing all these things. And so she observed that they looked forward to winter with a sense of anticipation to experience this coziness in relationship with their community and other people, and they actually had mood enhancement and didn't suffer. On the other hand, Americans tend to
isolate.
They tend to complain about the winter, and they tend to bond with other Americans by complaining about the weather in general, but complaining about winter specifically. And so we have a disposition towards winter in our country where it's like, it's bad, it's cold. We've done this. We perpetuate this. I don't want to say it's a myth because I have believed it, that like we go to these cold places, and we went to Minneapolis for our show.
Right.
And we went in November. It was late October or November, and we were in Minneapolis, and we had to go through, and they have the tunnels that connect the buildings, so you don't ever have to go outside.
And the sealed bridges.
But
I can't remember what they're called.
But the way we talked about it was like, we had to go into hell for a limited period of time until we get back to the wonderful, perfectly warm Los Angeles. But it's all about mindset. You can go through something that is very, this applies with anything, but super extreme experience if you take this mindset, and they take this anticipation of kasalig into the winter, and it has this effect where they're happy.
They've created an experience of coziness that then, as a community, they look forward to it. Because I mean, even the translation of the word cozy is something. Oh, that's so inviting.
Oh, cozy.
You know, I
want to wrap up with that.
It's marketing. I mean, it's social marketing, right? To say, hey, it's getting to be cozy time. These are the activities and the mindsets that we have at this time, and it seems to me you're describing an elongated holiday. I mean, you may be still working, I'm sure, but I mean, I'm picturing blankets and like special hats.
Special hats.
Special hats. I mean, it's, I get so excited if I could put a scarf with my jacket, or like when we would go to Sundance Film Festival every couple of years, we'll head up there. And I bought those huge freaking boots. Yeah. And I want to go back
just to wear the boots. Because you don't have an opportunity to wear the boots.
Because it's so cozy. And it's like, I can't do it here. Like,
and I mean, honestly,
I might try to wear them to a concert in a couple of weeks, but that'd be a bit ridiculous.
And skiing, I mean, I absolutely love skiing.
Yeah, but they can ski at any time. It's not, I don't
think so. They don't have like snow during the middle of the summer.
On their big old mountains?
I don't know, maybe way up there.
I picture them like, there's.
But I'm talking about for you.
Oh, for me.
I mean, like that, I actually have found myself really looking forward to being able to ski. Now, it's gonna be a little bit complicated with
I
like
agree with
kids'
that.
schedules and stuff like that. But like, so
but creating things that are, you're saying skiing, but creating special things that only happen
are enabled by this horrible weather.
Enabled by it, yeah. And that may just mean sitting outside with
Fires.
some coffee by a fire with a big old blanket around you.
Well, that's another thing.
Invest in a really cozy blanket.
Well, having a fire in the house is something that it really, there's maybe a day or two that it's actually justified in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah.
But
it's a magical thing.
But you'll be going home when it's like, oh, it was 62 today. And as you're going home, you'll see, oh, that person started a fire, they're having a fire in the fireplace.
Yeah, you see the chimney.
Right. Because people are and again, we noticed this in Australia too. We noticed it in Melbourne because it was beginning to be, it was when we went in the end of the summer, it's becoming, it was the peak of winter for them. In July.
Which was not cold at all.
It wasn't colder
than it gets
It wasn't
in
even
LA.
cold to us Angelinos, and they had on all that's why you bought the jacket while you were there.
Yep.
And I already had one.
And they were enjoying themselves. They were getting cozy.
Because you naturally want to experience the seasons, so you exaggerate the differences that are available. People at the equator, man, they can't do this. They can never put a jacket on. I'm sure there's been studies of them. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those in my stacks.
What else do you have?
Well,
I see something about space.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about that. But
You're gonna talk about seasons in space?
I do, but one of the really interesting things I found is that people actually experience cognitive decline in winter. There was a study of like 3,500 seniors, and not high school seniors, but older people, and they experienced a improvement in cognition during the summer and autumn, and then in the winter and spring, there was a significant decline. Because they were studying people and like when Alzheimer's sets in and like the different parameters for studying people. So you have to assume that this translates to people. So
is that related to?
You should be doing your best thinking is gonna be done in the summer.
Well, I don't know if that's related to light. My theory would be that with more activity, I think you're getting more.
You're pumping around the blood?
Yeah, getting that brain sprier when you're more active.
Another interesting thing, again, that's not necessarily related.
More babies are made in the fall.
Well,
and
speaking
winter,
of
right?
babies, your season of birth is etched into your brain. This is a Wired article. So spring babies are more likely to develop schizophrenia. Summer babies tend to grow up to be more sensation-seeking.
Hey, that's me, June 1.
And scientists theorize this is due to infants' exposure to viruses over the winter period as well as the amount of daylight they're exposed to, which might influence genetic expression during early development. And it's interesting because-
what about fall babies?
Well, what they observed in men, only in men, is that if you were born in the fall up until like December, the closer you got to December, the more gray matter you had in one particular part of your brain. And then if you were on the opposite end of that, going all the way up to June, which is when you were born, you had less gray matter. But it wasn't like a cognitive thing. It wasn't like, oh, one's smarter. It actually contributed to something else that
sounds like your brain is mushier.
But it's just, but that was only in men. It didn't apply to women. There were some interesting findings. They don't know exactly what to do with them, but basically, you may have seen this stuff about when you're born and how it places you into the school system and what age you are determines a lot about your future, especially in sports.
Yeah,
I think it was a documentary I watched that was about like every kid who, like all the hockey players in the NHL, like most of them were born in like, I don't know what the month is, but it's based on when they got into rec league hockey in Canada based on their age.
Yeah.
And so.
But what does that have to do with the seasons?
No, I'm saying you know that, but I'm saying it isn't just that. That's a very practical thing. I'm saying biologically, you're affected by the month that you were born in. The season that you were born in Oh gosh, now you're sneezing. You're allergic to these facts. So I'm just saying it was an interesting thing to find out that the season that you're born in actually is etched into your brain in ways that they're discovering more and more about. But probably the most interesting thing that I found is this space.com, which first of all, space.com is a website, which is something it seems obvious that it is a website, but I was very happy to discover it and actually sad that I had to be 41 now to find space.com.
Is it a good website though? Because I picture like a black website with white writing.
You're picturing like a 1998 website. No, it is black with white writing.
It is?
Of course it is. It's space.com. But it seems like a good website. But there was an article in there that talked about the tilt of the Earth, the tilt of planets, and how this is a good predictor for whether or not there might be alien life. And we actually have the tilt of our Earth to thank for being here. Let me explain why. So there are certain things that happen in the history of a planet that end up causing a tilt. And it's usually something about the way it was formed or some sort of event that something crashed into it or whatever. And basically at some point, a planet becomes tilted in reference to the star that it's rotating around, that it's in orbit around. And slowly over time, the gravity of the sun is taking the tilt out of the planet, these terrestrial planets, trying to get it back to normal.
And just to clarify, so normal would be, tilt is just defined by the planet itself spinning. And so it's spinning on an axis that is not perpendicular to the sun that is orbiting around?
Yeah, well, just I don't want to get into like the fact that it's orbiting and it's not flat and it's let's just simplify it and say this is the sun and this is the planet right here, or this is my mug. So
well, I know it's your mug.
This would be no tilt, and this is tilt as it goes around. And the tilt creates the seasons, right? Because if you have no tilt at all, what you have is you have absolute maximum sun exposure in the equator. And then you have
it's a constant
absolute very little sun exposure in the poles. It's completely indirect light, right?
And it never alters.
Right, and what happens is over time,
you have day and night, but you don't have seasons.
These initial events that cause tilt, once the tilt goes away, scientists theorize that what happens is the atmosphere is completely annihilated because you have extreme heat.
It settles.
And then you have extreme cold, and it can actually annihilate the atmosphere, and basically you don't have a covering that allows for life. And so
it's not dynamic.
So the nature of the star, like the gravitational characteristics of the star, different types of stars, determine how quickly that tilt is taken out of a terrestrial body. And so our sun is the kind of star that has allowed for an extremely long period of tilt to exist, which the seasons in the atmosphere have what create the conditions for life to develop. And then but a red dwarf star. So basically what they're doing is they're looking out there and they make these observations about planets that are in the Goldilocks zone, the habitable zone. And they're like, oh, this is a rocky planet that is about this distance from this star. We can surmise that there is the possibility that there's life there. But what they're finding now is that if that planet isn't tilted in a certain way, even if the other conditions seem right, there probably isn't life there. And it's related to how long it's been in the system, but also the nature of the star. That was just fascinating to me. That I was like, this tilt, this whole reason that we have these seasons and we feel things and we've adapted and we basically adapted in the context of experiencing these seasons. It might even be the reason that we're here to begin with.
And
Space.com.
Dang, that was loud. Kiko, you're gonna have to regulate that moment. Scare the crap out of me. I hate to do that to listeners.
Yeah, but you know what? They'll go to space.com now.
I was on until you shocked me out of it, I was on the border of being inspired by the tilt of the earth to embrace the seasons as a form of change, a push and a pull, a pendulum swing that makes life viable and allows me to embrace change, not just because it's different and I got tired of what I was experiencing. Oh, it's cooler. I can wear my jacket unapologetically with a scarf. But I was toying with this is an opportunity to go even deeper and say, I'm being serious here.
No, I see where you're going.
As the seasons change, that it's a moment to pause and, I don't know, in a hokey way, maybe just to be grateful for something on a planetary level, what you just shared. It's like, thank you for making that connection. To me, it's like, oh yeah, it's not just my own experience, but our entire planet is viable because of these changes. And I can apply that analogy to any change in my life, perhaps. That will be a stretch, but I'll try.
Well, I mean, another way to say it is that
what do you hear me saying?
This tilt that creates the change and makes change a fundamental part of life is what creates life. So life is change, right? And getting, even if you're on the equator, I mean, obviously it's very static down there, but because of the tilt, even though it may be a static situation, but it's not in you can live there. It's not burning up. But I think it's just change is something that is it is a part of life that you can't avoid, but it's also the thing that drives and kind of creates the energy of life. So, but it comes in ways that this change happens. It never happens on your terms. It never happens in the way that you want it to happen.
But how you interpret it, to go back to the cozy, I think is a great point of inspiration for me to say, okay, if I find I'm experiencing change, and maybe this is an opportunity for me to find my cozy. Like where is the cozy in the change? Because I can't fight it.
And to welcome it.
To wrap yourself up in it.
To anticipate it and to welcome it. The reason I talk about this, I've talked about it a few times, is because I read this book a couple years ago called The Guide to the Good Life, which was a professor who basically took Stoic philosophy and applied it to his life, like practically. He was teaching it and he was like, I'm actually gonna try to do this. And it's an incredible book. And I think there's a lot that we can learn from the Stoics. But one of the key things that they embraced is when you experience a trial, you see it as a blessing. You see it as something you can be grateful for, because you're like, oh, this is a part of the process that is going to continue to refine me and to make me into who I'm supposed to be. And I can just get completely overwhelmed with the fact that this change that I did not anticipate, that I didn't want, that's a complete inconvenience, maybe even a tragedy, is horrible. Mm-hmm. And everything's horrible. That's one approach. And the other approach is to say, in fact, there's a book called The Obstacle is the Way that was sent to us. Is that Ryan Holiday? Ryan Holiday, who sent us a bunch of his books. I haven't gotten to that one yet. My wife has read it. But basically it just says that trial, that's actually, you should be anticipating those things and welcoming those things as they happen.
Grab life by the balls and give it a swing.
The ball sack, that's what you said.
Grab life by the ball sack and give it a swing. And when the winds of change blow, find the cozy.
And get a special hat.
Get a special hat.
Yeah, everybody should have a special hat. Mythical.store. Oh, wow. That's probably bad timing, I should.
Space.com, yeah.
Space.com,
Gave us
a partner of Mythical.store.
Gave us a turn for the philosophical today.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank the season of fall, which apparently doesn't exist in this Southern California area.
I would like to thank the Santa Ana winds that are gonna blow in at extremely high temperatures, extremely high velocity.
Blow my ball sack off. Don't go outside nude, man.
I'm gonna have my jock strap on.
You'll lose that thing.
I'm gonna be out there in the front yard.
It's like a sail.
Leaning into the wind with a jock strap on. And you know what, that's me just embracing the obstacles.
Hashtag Ear Biscuits. I'm sorry. I apologize for so much scrotal humor.
Yeah, they're still going, huh?
But let us know what you think. Continue the conversation, not only with us, but with other listeners. All you gotta do is search hashtag Ear Biscuits.
That simple.
And then start communicating with each other and with us. And of course, we'll speak at you again next week.
Yes, we will.
You know what, we didn't even mention corn mazes.
Next episode's
We
all
didn't even
about
talk
corn
about corn
mazes.
mazes. We talk about, have you ever been in a corn maze?
I'm still in one.